Hey, I'm Renee Leonard Kennedy, and
I am Anna Grace Smith.
and we're at the NRB 2023, and we're so excited to have our guest, Anya.
Anya.
Can you say her full name?
My name is Anya Chernikova.
Chernikova. And what country are you from?
I'm from Ukraine.
And how long have you been here?
I came here for my second time and I'm here only for a couple of weeks. After 1 week, I'm coming back home to Ukraine.
Wow.
So you are going to go back home?
Yes, I'm living in Ukraine permanently.
That's right.
Wow.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about your life in Ukraine and how you've been affected by everything, and then also what you're doing out of the beauty of your heart to help others.
I'm 27 years old, and in 2014 the war in Ukraine started because of Russian invasion. A lot of people mistakenly think that the war started in 2022, but eventually it's the full invasion to whole country. But in 2014, Russian army took 2 our regions and Crimea Island. So we are independent country for 30 years. So it's like unbelievable that some other country can invade another independent country and nobody cared for 9 years. But still it was a lot of people, as I am, because I'm from eastern part of Ukraine, which is occupied for 9 years still. And in 2014 I was 19 years old. I was finishing my college degree and I was in the 2nd grade of college. And I was that girl which observed the first missile attack in Lugansk, its eastern city in Ukraine. And I just passed my exam, and it was a spring, beautiful weather. I was walking with my friend and some jet just entered the city, and it was a missile attack on City Hall. And I observed that because I was a couple of blocks away.
So you saw this happen?
Yes.
Wow.
And since then, my life never was the same, because I decided that I can come back to my small village where I'm from, to my hometown. And I spent there for months. Like, we were trying to not leave our place, just hiding and all that stuff. We were very scared because nobody knows what is happening. We understand that Russian tanks are coming to our country and all that missile attacks happening, but nobody understands clear how to call that, how it could happen. And I was journaling once, and I was sitting in front of the window in my home, and the tanks went through the road where I used to ride the bicycle with my brother. And my father, he said, like, it was a lot of gossiping that Russian army already entered our small town, and he said it's not safe to stay here because I have 2 younger brothers. And he said we need to leave, so I will take you to the seaside to like forced vacation for a couple of weeks, and we will wait while this misunderstanding will end. So we just packed everything for vacation. We don't care about anything else because we even didn't know what to pack. We didn't recognize that we are leaving our house forever. So when I was waving to my grandma, and as a teenager, I didn't recognize that it will be my last moment when I see her. And instead of 2 weeks, we spent 49 days at that seaside, and we never came back to that home. We moved to the central part of Ukraine, which wasn't occupied. And when in 2022 the full invasion started, as a member of my church, I was volunteering, helping refugees, helping military army, and do whatever we can just to help people which is observing and suffering from the war in 2022.
So you've literally been homeless for homeless from your home that you knew for almost a decade.
Yes. I still have a document. It's like a small piece of paper which is saying like you're internally displaced person since 2014. I don't have my house. I don't have money for buying that. And like it's not only about me, it's thousands of the same people, because my parents, they were working hard for like 40 years all their life, and they live everything on the eastern part. And it's very hard to start everything from the first like blank paper when you're 40 years old and nobody wants you to hire on the work because you are not a young person with a lot of potential. So it was a huge struggling for my parents.
So where are you living currently? You are in Ukraine, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so you've just been visiting the States for the last
Yes.
few weeks. Okay, and so you work with Ukrainian children now. Tell me a little bit more about that.
When we left my home in 2014, my younger brother, he was only 7 years old, and he haven't speak for 1 year because of trauma. And the teachers in school, they didn't understand that because nobody knows how to behave with internally displaced people. Nobody even know how to call us, so they were trying to call us refugee, but refugee is the person who fled the country. We didn't cross the border, but we still, from eastern part, we lost our home. Even that was like some stereotypes and bullying stuff. They called my mom and said, show your son to therapist. And my mom, she was bleeding for 8 months. My dad was on occupied territory trying to evacuate his mother and to defend our city, but we all was stressed out. And teachers called my mom with not words of comfort, but to say, show your kid to the therapist because he has very bad esteem at school. He is not speaking and he is 7 years old. And my mom is saying, come on, he was speaking before all this war started. So just show some kind of love to him. So when all this happened in 2022, and like thousands of people were escaping their homes and they were separated, kids were separated from fathers, from their elder brothers. Some of them lost their moms, their grandmoms, they've lost their friends, they lost everything, their safe environment. And when we saw that, we opened the warehouse for helping IDPs. We gave food, clothes, everything we can do with our team. But sometimes mothers will come to warehouse and they will forget about their kid because they were so stressed out, because they just left their home with nothing, only their passport. And when we noticed like such a loneliness in that kid's eyes, and it was very close to my heart because of my younger brother, we decided that we need to open the art therapy center for kids. And we named that Workshop of Goodness because we are teaching kids not just to make handcraft or singing or dancing or just forget about war. We are sharing with them this knowledge that even when you are struggling, when your parents are struggling with war, you still can be kind, you still can be a good person. And we have like 3 different groups every day. Our team is just volunteers, also IDP people which helping, and they know how to comfort because they also lost their home. But also we have family events for such families. We're just trying to be friends with them. We invited them every month, and it's at least 90 kids. We are gathering them for 2 hours, and we are helping them to smile again, to be happy, to forget about the war. And every topic of that event, it's very, very authentic because sometimes we are like all crew will wear the superhero costumes. But at the end, we will say, not a Spider-Man, not a Batman will help you, but Jesus Christ is the main superhero for your life. So we made like 12 of such events, and we have a lot of feedbacks, a lot of healed hearts. I will tell you this story so you will know like the present, how we're helping kids. One girl, she was 12 years old, and she escaped with her mom from Kharkov. It's a big city on eastern part, and it was bombed a lot, and she wasn't smile for 2 months. And on that event, her mom came to me and said, I want to say you thank you because this is first time when my daughter is smiling, laughing, dancing, and first time for 2 months when she's doing that. And we have such a lot of stories when kids are coming aggressive or passive or closed or hyperactive, and they are just changing because of Holy Spirit.
And so what it is that you're giving them space to create, and you're loving on them, and you're sharing the love of the Lord with them, and they know that you're consistently there and that they can come. And you're changing their lives. It just is so beautiful.
Has that been healing for you as you've even seen what's been happening in your country, being able to see kind of beauty come from pain, if that makes sense, and investing in these children?
Yes, we hope that if we can't help mentally, it's very hard to help our adults right now because we're still in the war. It still keep going, and we can't forget that we are waiting for the victory, and a lot of people, they are very exhausted because of that. They are living in the rental apartments like by 7 people in the one room for many, many months. A lot of people just exhausted. So we can help adults, but we can help to kids to go through this. We can go through that with them and to help them to become a health generation for our country.
So what draws you to children? I'm working with children specifically because I know you mentioned a brother, correct? Is it your brother that draws you to continue helping with these children, or has it been just the opportunities you've seen and children healing from or finding life among kind of the chaos that's been happening that continues to inspire your work?
My brother now is a teenager, so he becomes that inspirational spot for me. That my baby, because when he was born I was 11 and I was like the second mom for him. That's why all the kids for me and for other stuff, they are very close to our hearts. And among these kids, I don't know who can help them if we will not.
So you're stepping up where there was a void, and you're saying, I'm going to follow you, Lord, instead of my own fears. What happened to your grandmother?
It's a very sad story because she didn't want to leave her hometown because she built that house by her own hands with my grandfather. And my grandfather already passed away before the war, so she said, I would like to be buried with my husband on the same cemetery. And I'm already very old, I don't want to start everything from the blank paper. So she just stayed there, and my father, he was caring about her. He was staying in the occupied territory for 4 years. We were separated, like our family was separated. But last year she passed away, unfortunately alone. And it's not only about my grandmother, it's a lot of old people. They're just dying alone because they are separated, yes, from their families.
We work dance with a lot of Ukrainian people who have just come over. Our dance instructor.
Yes, they are bright lights in our world now.
But they came over within 5 days.
And have a lot of them very young children.
Yeah, 3. And that but they picked up and started working right away. And we've often wondered, how can we help them? Because, I mean, you don't just start, I mean, obviously you're doing whatever you can to, survive, but at the same time, we will talk about they're not living in their home. I was even talking to my daughter. Nothing is new. The idea of just starting a new kitchen and needing, you know what that is like. How do you pick up all the supplies to a kitchen? Because how many times you go somewhere and you're like, where's the can opener? There is none.
And in a new culture too.
Yes.
Because grocery stores overseas are so different, and even it's just like culture shock along with that.
And they're dealing with so much, and we keep saying we don't know how to help them. Yeah. How would you help our teachers? Because we want to do things, and we try to give them heartfelt gifts or things.
Their lives right now, or they work like sometimes 10 hours a day for dancing, which is a lot.
Right.
Having children, so it's with that in mind, what would you suggest?
Ukrainians are very resistible nation, but our women, they even more resistible because so many young girls, when they join army, the girl of my age and even younger, and they are not professional army military people. They were just teachers, nurses, and they went and joined army. Now they are fighting for our country. They are representing how many efforts person can do if God's inspire you. And we believe that God now is moving through our nation for something special. He is giving this inspiration and desire for us to stand in this war and to show the whole earth that Jesus is the only king. Putin is not the king of this earth.
No, he is not.
So God is trying to
nor is America, nor is the president.
God is trying to use such a weak nation. Like, we are a very small, tiny country, and our army is so weak. And God is using all of that just to blame the imperial spirit. That's why how we can help each other. We can just pray. We can just stay in this spiritual war, because it's not only the war between Russia and Ukraine. It's also a spiritual war. So you can pray about it, women. But in practical way, it's very hard to even to say, I understand you. Probably the person who didn't lose anybody, any close person, will never understand somebody who really has some loss. Probably that people who never was in the war and experienced that by their experience, you will never understand another person. But God is giving us special gift of love, which conceals this understanding. You don't need to say, I understand you. Sometimes you just need to be near. You just need to be and hold in the hand. Because words doesn't help. They didn't help me. When people in my country, inside of my country in 2014, they were in the central part and they didn't care what is happening in their own country on eastern part. And they were saying, oh, I understand you. I was thinking, no, you don't. But when I entered the church and nobody tried to say, oh, I want to comfort you. I want you to think that I'm a hero and I understand you. They didn't do that. They were just holding my hand. They helped me to be healed. They involved me in community, in the ministry. And when I started to help people who is even more weak than I am, I become healed. And I received God's love.
You have such an incredible story.
And way with words too, and how you describe that, and just being near to someone. Like, I think of the scripture of he is near to the brokenhearted and crushed in spirit, and how we're called as believers to mourn with those who mourn. And it's nice people don't have to say anything, no matter what we're going through, whether it's war, whether it's death, whether it's some sort of loss, but having someone who has your back. They don't have to say anything, but they're there, literally physically present. There's so much that is felt from just that. And so it's interesting to hear from you. So it's just, you would say, loving them and with intention.
Just being present.
Yeah.
Just being present.
Wow.
And I love the way that you love your little brother. That is so beautiful. And families are such gifts from God. You have blessed us. You have such a beautiful story.
And we do have one last question, if we could ask you, that we've been asking each of our new family members to our convention living room. But if you could ask the world one question, or say everyone here is watching you, what would you ask? What would your question be?
How would we behave if we will know that Jesus will come tomorrow?
I love everyone's different answers. Honestly, every single one makes me it stops makes me think. Wow. Well, Anya, we thank you for sharing your story with us. And I think it's amazing what you're doing too. And your heart for children and investing in them. And it sounds like even your wisdom to us on how we can be there for our Ukrainian friends, you already are doing that within your calling and your ministry, because you're near to these children who are needing refuge. Yes, and who need that place of refuge and that shoulder to lean on. So I do commend you for that, and it's an honor to be able to talk to you.